Hello everyone, my name is Zesty. I'm one of the main speedrunners for Midtown Madness 2, and today I will be walking you through all of the races in the All Races category, which is the main speedrun category for this game. I will just be demonstrating various shortcuts, strategies, and other similar things used in an All Races speedrun, but not at a fast pace like a normal run would. So I'll just be breaking everything down in a slow, easy to understand manner. So let's just jump right in. So there are two cities in Midtown Madness 2, London and San Francisco. All races categories consist of Blitz, Circuit, and checkpoint races for both cities. And we'll be going through the order of races that are used currently for the splits. So we'll start in London, do checkpoint. The reason you do the checkpoint races first is because winning the first 6 races will unlock the Panos GTR1, which is the fastest car in the game. And it's the main car we use for these speedruns for that fact that it's the fastest. Normally, you wouldn't have it right away, so you would start with the Panos Roadster, but I am not going to use that. All the shortcuts and whatnot routes will be the same with the Roadster that they are for the GTR1. I just prefer this vehicle, so we're going to use it for the whole thing. So checkpoint comes first, and then we'll do Circuit and Blitz, and then we'll move to San Francisco, Circuit, checkpoint, Blitz, and that will be that. There are also crash courses for London and San Francisco. That will be in a separate video. I'm not as experienced with these. I will do a video on them in the future, but for now, I will just be doing the main runs in all races. So, let's just jump right in. So, we'll start in London checkpoint. The first race is top of the morning. This race is fairly straightforward. It's just a straight shot to the end. A few things to note off the bat is we will be driving in manual. The reason we do this is because when the vehicle is in automatic mode, the shift points are not optimally used, so the vehicle will rev high and then start to slow down in automatic, so you won't gain speed optimally. So we use manual so we can optimize the speed increase with shift points. So that was top of the morning. It's very straightforward. A lot of these early races are straightforward. There won't be anything super interesting in them. Most of the interesting cuts and strategies will be in the later ones, but I'd like to show all of them if I can. So here's the second race, Bridge Bash. So I have paused it for just a moment. I messed up the starting sequence a bit there. I will try and demonstrate it better in the next run. But basically, the fastest way we've found to start a race is to hold your revs slightly low. You can, if you look at the screen when it comes up again, you'll see where the revs are. We usually keep it around the M in damage meter, and then as soon as you get a start, you'll shift up twice to third gear. This will minimize the amount of wheel spin you have, which will slow down your start. I'll try to show it well in the next race. So we'll just continue for now. This is Bridge Bash. It's another straightforward race. That's something you have to watch out for this car, is it loves to hit curbs, but that's just a learning curve. It'll come with experience. So that's the first. That cut there is not really a cut. It's kind of the intended way to run this race. But other than that, you just follow this straight like this and off to the finish. Alright, now I will demonstrate the starting. So you rev around the M in damage, and as soon as it says go, you hold the forward arrow and then shift twice. I shifted 3 times by accident. But shifting twice and you'll get the best start. This is through the park. It's another fairly straightforward race, but it has some technical corners. do your best not to spin out. If you do find yourself spinning out, you can either downshift, let go of the gas, tap the handbrake quickly. A few options to reduce your spinning. And a little cut over the grass here, and you're on the way toward the finish. This one is VMA Visit. I have a very bad relationship with this race. This is probably the race I've grinded the most on for individual level runs. I spent maybe a week trying to get the record on this. This one is the first race where we bring routing into the equation. So, I can't bring up my mouse here, which is a bit of a shame. But the optimal way to run this is, if you can see here, I will actually do this. No, I won't do that. Excuse me. So, this red building up front that you see on the map with the yellow checkpoint on the left side of it, you're going to go over top that red building and cut down, cut left, and then up towards that green rectangle. That is the optimal route for this one, and I will just drive it and you'll see how it works. And we cut around. London has a lot of these buildings that have the corners shaved off, so they're a good opportunity to cut some corners. And then this little last road here is the one you want to take. But as you can see, this GTR is a pain to drive and will likely hit a lot of curves. Oops, sorry. So, here, this is what I'll do. I'll come back to the main menu and I'll show the route this way. So this is the first iteration of randomness, where there's checkpoints just kind of strewn about and you have to make the fastest route. So you start up here, we're going to come down the right side, and we'll go straight through. I actually don't know the route by looking at it, so we'll have to get into it, but I'll do my best to describe it to you. So we'll come down the right side, and cut across the grass to lose a bit of time. And you're going to go straight through to the center roundabout area. Go straight through, and you'll take a left here. You'll take two more lefts. Left, left. And you'll take a right here. And then just follow this around. Watch out for NPCs. And you'll take the final left, and your finish line is right here. Now these may seem a bit chaotic at first, but trust me, with some practice, you'll get them down in no time. So this is South Bank Brawl. It can be a bit of a challenge. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of things to hit. But this first part isn't so bad. There's a sharp right coming up here with vehicles and curbs. So you have to mind where you're going. Make sure you avoid the grass in the center. And now you're going to cut to the right. Cut left. You can stay on the grass here so you avoid traffic and make the finish line. And there you go. Now another little trick to get to the next race as quick as you can is when you finish, as soon as you hit the finish line, you'll press escape, and you'll see before it brought up that little blue menu. If you press escape again, it'll bring you right to the screen. And all you have to do is hit the down arrow to go to the next race, and then press enter. I will demonstrate at full speed at the end of this race, which is Circuit Within. There is something you definitely have to watch out for here. At the beginning of this covered area, there's a bit of a height change, so the Panos can actually hit it. As shown right there, if you are on the left side, you won't hit it. Now brake, and there's a little shortcut we can take here. Come right through this alleyway, and you reach this checkpoint. You're gonna come to the right, do some left-right turns, and then jump over Trafalgar Square, and then head down to the namesake of this race, the Circuit Within. Now you're just gonna hit these checkpoints and cut across the grass, and get the checkpoints on your way. And here we go. Escape down. Oh, hold on. I can't do it while I'm talking. I'm sorry about that. We'll do it here, and I'll do it without talking. So it's escape, down arrow, enter, and it'll just be a flurry of button pushes. But this race is definitely one of the most difficult checkpoint races due to it being foggy, and there's a lot of technical turns. I will take it slow, but this is definitely not one of my best races. I'll do my best to explain it. This one definitely requires a lot of practice. So we're gonna take a right turn. Excuse me, I will restart this race because I have the route wrong in my head. What you're going to do is pull a U-turn. So what you're going to do, as soon as you hit the checkpoint, we're going to hit the handbrake and spin around, shift down to about second, and come back the way we came. That's the quickest route through here. Take a left, there'll be a cop up here, but we'll probably just blow by him. Alright, now here's where it gets difficult. So after the second checkpoint, there'll be a right, and then you'll take a series of lefts. A left here, a left here, and once you'll get to the tree road, you'll follow it. Follow the tree road. That always throws me off. So take a left angle there, a right angle here, another left angle, cut across this patch of green, some lefts over the roundabout, and straight to the finish. This race definitely is a real tough one to learn. This is another one that we've got where there's checkpoints strewn about all over the place. So we're going to collect this group of 4 checkpoints up at the top first, come back for this single checkpoint, go left to the group of 3, and the finish line will appear right by that group of 3 checkpoints. Get out of the way. So the optimal route here, like you saw, is go right, but then they are stupid and go around. You're just going to cut through left. Grab this checkpoint, come through here, and take a left and pull. We're going to pull another U-turn, and then go through this alleyway. Come out by the group of 3. We're going to go left here, left all the way. Do 2 rights, a 3rd right to get this checkpoint, and then 2 lefts, and then a right, and the finish line will be right here. Right when we come out. And there, that's what the fast strat for the finish sequence looks like. This is cut it short. Another slightly random one, but it's not too difficult. So we'll take a right here, and then we'll go left at the roundabout. And what we're going to do is take a little alley shortcut right here. get past the cop. This cop can be a real pain sometimes, but if you're doing a full speed run, he'll normally be out of the way. Then you'll turn left, come out to this checkpoint, and then follow the road this way to the finish, which is right in front of the Tower of London. The second last race is dizzy driving, so you're going to be driving a loop all around here. This one's not too technical. There's a bit of being aware you have to do around the South Bank area, just knowing which route to take. Get that checkpoint and then come around to the right. And you'll go past there. The arrow will turn yellow, but you want to come here so you have a straight road to this green patch. You'll cut across and go over the bridge towards South Bank. Now, depending on your pace, the bridge will probably still be up, so you'll want to slow down a bit for that. You have to be looking out. It's not the first road, but the second road after. You go to this roundabout, head right, and then up the left side of the Tower of London. And you'll take a left here, not super left, just slightly left, because there's a few left options. Past St. Paul's Cathedral. For this checkpoint here, and the finish line will be just ahead of the archway, right up here. This is the final race of London checkpoints, Foggy Night. It's not as hard as the other Foggy race, because it's not as technical. So after this second checkpoint, we'll want to quickly turn right to the bottom road. It may not be the most direct route, but this way we have the most speed coming through. Now this is a part you have to watch out for. The grass can trip you up, so try to get on the grass and slowly make that turn. It can be a bit of a jerk sometimes, but it's definitely the fastest way to keep some speed up going through this section. Take a left here, and then a right up the hill. Sharp left, and then the finish line is up by Hyde Park. So we'll just try and do our best to avoid curbs up to the finish line. So this will come to our first sequence of menuing. All we would do is press escape twice, go to race menu, we'd click circuit, select vehicle, and we'd be on the way. With circuits, I will be returning to the main menu every time and just doing one lap of each because there are no strategies that change between laps. A bit more information on the GTR1 itself. This thing can be your best friend and your worst enemy at the same time. It's so nice when you can get a smooth transition through tight turns and over curbs at a high speed, but curbs are such a pain in this car sometimes. The car's hitbox is super low, so at times when going over a curb, the hitbox will be in an area where it will collide with the hitbox of the curb and you'll just dead stop. Different motions hitting different objects in this game will affect the hitbox area of the GTR1. It will come up, come down. We don't know the full extent of it yet. I hope to collab with some other guys to figure out what causes the hitbox to move around, but for now we just kind of have to go with the flow of what happens and just react as quick as we can while we're in the race. So we'll move on to circuit races. This is mini race. As you can see, it's just a circle, so it's not that hard. But the actual fastest optimization for this track actually uses a controller, because you can get constant, steady turning speed instead of jerky taps using a keyboard. So that's very self-explanatory. This is round Westminster. It requires a couple of good techniques with turning because you go at such a high speed. You can cut off a bit of time just by cutting through, and it helps you get in front of the AI opponents. So what you're going to want to do for this corner is go left of the grass patch and then turn onto it without coming off of it. That gets the best line. If you come off on the right side, you can hit that grass edge and spin out. When you hit that checkpoint, you'll want to lift off the gas just a bit so you can get around the turn optimally. At this checkpoint here, I like to lift off a little bit just so my car is not affected by weird road bumps. And there's that. The car can also be affected where two road pieces will meet. They may be up, down, not quite even, and if you're going at a high speed, your car will react in a strange way that can send you flying. The biggest one of these will happen on the end of the Golden Gate Bridge, which we will show a few times in Blitz and Checkpoint races in San Francisco. I'll make sure to bring it up again when we get to it. This circuit race is really fun. I say that sarcastically. It's a view from two bridges. It's a long one. A lot of technical turns. Go either side there to avoid these AI cars. You will often get through this race with some smoke coming out of your car by the end of it, just because there's a lot of turns and obstacles you will hit. It's almost inevitable. Alright, so there's a little strategy up here where we stay on the grass and just nick the edge of this checkpoint, and that way we can cut across the grass this way for a bit of a quicker run. And we're gonna go left here, land on the grass. Either side of the building doesn't really matter. And as you can see, I'm already smoking. Now, this is an interesting spot. Most of the time, you'll just want to go right around this corner. But you can technically cut through the subway station here. If you can see on the mini-map, the subway station goes straight across from the road in front of us to the road parallel. If you were just to take the road, you'd go all the way around, but you can go through the subway. Sometimes there's a train there. I don't know when it comes on pace. I usually avoid it, but I will sometimes take it for modified race settings, runs where it's just a single lap. But, well, I guess I'm avoiding it now because I hit a lamppost, but... And it would come out on that road to your left, just there. And then you come around this way. So you can tell that this race is really a pain. It's definitely one of my least favorite races in the run. This is parks but no parking. Not going to brag, but I just set the world record on this a few days ago. It's my first ever full circuit world record with all 3 laps instead of just modified using 1 lap. It's got some difficult corners as well. This first corner, you'll cut through the barriers. Avoid the trees. this corner can really suck. There's so much debris in the way, it really is random where your car will end up. But you just have to adapt with it and try and figure something out depending on where your car goes. And then up here we will cut across the grass through this section and we will make a checkpoint. This is City Circuit. There's a few technical turns in this race. It's not terrible. There's a bit of a shortcut that I like to take that cuts out a few tenths. But again, we can see how London has corners shaved of their buildings, so we can cut some corners optimally. And now here's the shortcut you're going to cut through here on this road of cars, and then turn left. It's a little bit faster, not much, but it is a bit faster. And then we'll turn a sharp right here back towards the finish. I forgot to modify it. My bad. Now this is the first race where you can really break the route of this. There's a few other ones that will pop up later, but this is the first big game-breaking one you're going to see. So this one, you start here, and you'll come down this way, and then you'll enter the subway system. It wants you to come all the way around here, and then back out. But if you notice, there are no checkpoints anywhere along the subway system, so you don't even have to go underground. So I will demonstrate that now. So normally you'll just go through there, but we're going to completely ignore it and just take a right up here. Go past Trafalgar Square, and we'll have to do a interesting reverse 180 here. And back towards the finish. And just like that, they're only halfway through the lap and we're already done one. This is London Run. It's a pretty high speed run with a few technical corners. Now this corner here, you're probably going to want to bounce off the wall. That. A lot of tight corners are at full speed are taken that way. You'll bounce off the wall of a building or a curb. You're going to want to break some here. You'll probably come out on the grass, but that's fine. Do a right-left sequence. And we're going to head up back towards the finish. You're going to want to brake here as well. Brake here, hand brake if you have to get the car turned around. And then finish off. This one is the second very broken track. There's a lot of large sections of track that don't have any checkpoints that you can just cut right through. There's a lot of crashing through barriers that you will do. I'm very interested in what the developers were thinking when they made this. It wouldn't be hard to just put some checkpoints in these areas. But hey, it makes for a good speed run. So the first one is just right here. You can just cut through this grass patch. A couple left turns you can cut through here. Long left, and then a 90 left, 90 right. You can cut as soon as you hit this checkpoint, and you can just take the right of this first roundabout, cut as soon as you hit this, and you can cut straight through the archway. Grab this checkpoint. And I like to go on the grass here to make a better line for right here. And then the last cut is straight through this road here. And you're back at the finish line. Oh, oops. I'll just do one more. This is Soho Mojo. There are a few good shortcuts in this race as well. A few technical corners at the beginning. Some sharp and 90-degree corners. There's two 90 rights. A sharp left. Another 90 right. And now we come up to a very technical turn into a tight alleyway. We want to brake and make that corner. Now, first little cut here is you can go straight on and turn left, so you take one corner as opposed to three. Another cut here is we're going to blow through these barriers, past the archway, and take a left. Third cut is up here. We're going to hit through the barriers to this road to the left. Cut right. And the biggest one is just across this grass patch here. Get this checkpoint and on to the finish. And now we come to the infamous Zany Zigzag. This race is a behemoth. It is the longest race you will do in the run. The world record for a single lap, or I guess modified race settings for one lap, is just under a minute and a half. So the full run of this will end up being around 4 minutes or so. It's quite a doozy. You have to really be focused on all the turns you're taking. Left here. This turn coming up can throw you off because you have to take a quick left right here, or right, and you can shave a bit of time by going through the barriers here. Some left, right, left through the archway, being careful not to hit it. Come up by St. Paul's Cathedral, and we're going to take a left. I have not yet learned the optimal route for this corner. During top speed running, you will hit that curve to the left. I have not learned it yet. I hope to learn it soon. Turn right by the roundabout, a sharp left down to the back stretch. This is a very, very fast section. You do have to be wary. Sometimes your car will hit on the meeting points between two road pieces, so you just have to keep your eyes open and react accordingly. Yeah. If you're going straight and not turning, not much will normally happen, but you never know what can happen, just like that. And then you'll cut left on the run back to the finish line. So that is the circuit races, and then we'll finally go on to the Blitz races. These are mostly short races. There are a few interesting pathing ones, like Battle of Trafalgar, Tower Tour, Alley Cats, that you'll have to learn the routes, but I will do my best to explain them well. This is a very straightforward one, figuratively and literally. We're just running a straight line up to the finish. Not much to say about it. This is Embark on It. 2 left turns in total. I like to drive on the sidewalk here so I can get the best turn possible. like to come on the right side here, again, to get a better turn into the final turn here, and finish that. Now, we come to our first crazy one. This one, I will show you two versions of this. I will show you the developer intended route, and then I'll show you the speedrun route, which completely breaks it. So the developers intended you to run on top of the tower like this. And at first glance, you'd think you'd absolutely have to run on top of the tower like this. But we have discovered a way to massively break this route. If you noticed, the entirety of the checkpoint was sitting on top of the tower. But for some reason, the hitbox for the checkpoint extends a bit further past where the edge of the checkpoint is visually. So we actually don't have to go up on top of the tower at all. So we'll get these two checkpoints right here, and we'll pull a 180 and stick to this wall by holding left. And like that, we get the checkpoint. You'll want to make sure you hold left so that you're guaranteed to get these checkpoints. And then we'll cut through here, I did that fully, and hit the jump. So, it's definitely an oversight by the developers, but we like to take advantage of developer oversights. This is hide and go seek. We want to minimize the time we spend in the water because it slows down the vehicle, so we've developed a route where we only have to cross the pond once by taking that route around that tower, and then going through this patch of water, and then jumping over the road to the final checkpoint. This is going underground. The only one of two runs normally where you go underground, but since we didn't go underground, we only do it once here. So a sharp right is here. I like to brake and downshift some. And now there are two opportunities where trains will come. You have to be wary of those. The first is right here, so you'll want to hard left or right, depends how you prefer. And the other one will come up after this station. It will be stationary, but it will be sitting right there. And now you have to be careful here. This change in elevation can hit, as you see, like that. So you have to do some braking to make that corner. And then you'll come out of the underground to the final couple of checkpoints. Battle of Trafalgar has seen quite a few route changes. You're actually going to not go to that checkpoint, but veer left and get these two checkpoints. Go up the hill, left here, and then make a left into this alleyway. Go along the top, grab these three checkpoints. Make a left here to the final checkpoint over here. This is Crosstown Sprint. It's seen 2 new world records in actually just the past few days, which is super exciting. It's a fairly straightforward one. There's a difficult corner here where you will hit the curb trying to get up to this grass patch. We're not going to go directly to the checkpoints. There's a faster route through wider streets if you come wide this way. If you go the intended route, you'd have to go through some narrow streets with parked cars on both sides, and it's just easier to take this wider route where you can keep more speed. This is Alley Cats. Some technical corners here as well. So you're going to go straight on through this gap here, take a left and then a right back onto the road, and same as in Cut It Short, you're going to cut through here, and then turn left up here, and the final checkpoint will be right up ahead. Midnight Mash is very, very technical. This cathedral building in the center has 4 faces that have checkpoints on them, 2 at the front and 2 at the back. It can be very sketchy sometimes. 3 of the checkpoints you can actually get by kind of just skirting the corners. Like in Tower Tour, the hitbox of the checkpoint will extend further out, so you can get those. The second checkpoint, however, is in an indented area, so you have to do a very difficult 180 turn where you hit the checkpoint with your rear end as you're spinning around. I actually lost a world record to this run. This is the second last world record in the All Blitzes run, and I lost it out by 6 seconds to this run. So we have a bad relationship. I like to do this race in 3rd gear. So just hit there. Here comes the difficult one. We'll go wide and brake, spin around, just like that. I always take these carefully by doing the brakes and hitting the corners like that. Now I have screwed up here, but then you would normally just go by that corner and you'll get that checkpoint, and then you are off to the final checkpoint. That one definitely has a large learning curve to it, but I know with a lot of practice you can get the hang of it. This is the final race for London. It's 5-ring circus. We have developed an optimal strategy to what directions we take the rings to keep up with the most speed. So clockwise loop for this first one, and then you'll hit this checkpoint and head back here. Do another clockwise loop. And then head off this way beside the right side of Buckingham. We'll do a 3rd clockwise loop. Grab this checkpoint and turn left. And this will be a counterclockwise loop. And you'll follow this road straight. There's been a relatively new strategy here where you can get these 2 checkpoints and then do a bit of a 180 there. It would help if I hit the checkpoint. Like do a 180 there and head back down this way so you get a straighter shot to the final checkpoint. So that is all of London, and now we're going to do it all over again, this time in San Francisco. San Francisco, I would say, has a bigger difficulty level in terms of overall difficulty. Most of it are in the Blitz section. A few races like Presidio Push can be difficult. Lombard Lunacy can trip you up. But I would say the most difficult race in all of San Francisco would be Telegraph Turnaround. It will be the 3rd last race we do, so it'll be a while before we get to it. But basically, you're going at high speeds, in the dark, in the fog, against traffic. So you can just see how fun that's going to be. But for San Francisco, we're going to start off with the circuit races. First up is Take It Easy. The first corner here can trip you up a bit if you're not careful. If you carry too much speed, you can actually fly off the edge and land on the grass hill below. So you'll want to be careful of this turn. Let off the gas a bit if you have to. But it's just a giant loop. So not much to explain here. You can go into these corners a bit quick if you hit the curves, but that comes after some practice. Now this race is very fun. In an all races route, you will almost never get through it without blowing up your car at least once, and you'll see why in just a moment. It's called hang time for a very good reason. The second half of the race is all downhill. and you're going at very high speed, so your car has a very rough landing. You'll come right here, slow down a bit, and take a jump towards the right. I didn't cut it hard enough. Now is where it starts to get interesting. So you do a lot of flying, and as you can see, after one lap, my car is already smoking. So you're almost guaranteed to have the car reach terminal damage at least once. GimMe Soma is probably one of my favorite tracks. There's a lot of tight, quick corners that you can make, and it's got a good shortcut as well. So we'll cut all these corners. You can go through that little... You can cut through that little alcove there, but it's very difficult. It will save you time, but you have to be... You will need some skill to get through that properly. The shortcut is the easiest shortcut in the game. You will literally just drive straight through. I don't understand why a checkpoint wasn't placed around that way, but hey, the developers let us get a quicker time on it, so I'm not complaining. And now we head to one of my least favorite runs, which is Wind It Up, which is another one where it's not as bad as Hang Time, but you are almost guaranteed to have your car reach terminal damage once. So there's a sharp right here. And now they want you to turn left at the bottom of Lombard Street, but we're just going to go straight through. Now, optimally, you'll just take one of those paths up the side, up the left side particularly, and then we'll come down the hill here. A few bounces, and turn right. A couple more checkpoints, and we'll turn right again up towards the finish. I did it again. This is a fun one. This is Midtown Mayhem. There's some good technical turns here. Not much to explain. Just sit back and watch, I guess. That's another thing you gotta watch out for that the Panos does, is it can actually catch up on where two buildings meet. The hitbox of those where buildings meet is not smooth, and it can catch on the hitbox of the GTR one, which can be very frustrating at times. That's Midtown Mayhem. Can be very fun. This is a relatively short one for being further into the circuit races, rather. It's Chinatown. It's just a giant rectangle with a small little shortcut at the end of the first straight. So you're going to handbrake into the wall here, and you can just kind of cut down through this little slope here to save a small amount of time. After this jump, you have to watch your speed as there's a right turn and then another right turn. And then you're already back at the finish. The full run world record for this is currently held by Xtrix, and it is probably one of the best individual level runs in the entire game. The amount of time he spent grinding this race is absolutely phenomenal. I will put a link to that video in the description if you want to check it out. He is a fantastic runner. I would hazard to say he's probably the best player in the world right now. He's definitely a pioneer of this game for sure. Now this race is fun, especially with the GTR, as you have to navigate some difficult off-road hills. You can go off-road a bit here to get a good line into this checkpoint. Now, I like to stay on the road as much as I can. There is a lot of cutting you can do. There's a safe cut here I take where we just cut off a bit of time here. And we'll left turn here. Grab this checkpoint and up to the finish. Alright, this is actually good because I wanted to demonstrate the full cuts. Actually, let me just grab this checkpoint. So if you're really daring, you can cut all the time you want to by cutting across these grass patches like this. And then there's another one right here that is a very daring cut. That would be something that would be done in an individual level run, but in an all races run, you would most likely stick to the road as to better your time as much as possible. And then we're back at the finish. This level can be difficult at times. There's a lot of curbs you can hit, and you will sometimes run into other drivers who are further behind you, because this race is a giant crisscross. Now that curb is always one of the toughest ones to get, the toughest ones to hit rather. So I go left and then pull in after the corner. Sharp left turn here. You jump onto the grass again. These parts are all raised, so you can bounce off of all of them. So it's a very, very difficult course. This is probably the most technical run on the entire run. It's circuit breaker, a lot of sharp, difficult corners. This one will definitely require a lot of practice. The route may be difficult to learn for people who are just starting out, but just run through it enough times and you'll eventually get the hang of it. The first half of the track is not so difficult, the more technical stuff is right now. A sharp turn here, and we'll have a couple of sharp turns right and left. A left and some more rights. A right up a hill. And of course you've got all the obstacles on the side of the road to deal with as well. And then we'll drop down a couple more turns. Oops. Another descent to the final few corners. Ooh. And then the final one to finish. Very technical course this one. And now we're on to the final circuit race of the run, which is Florid. A lot of speed in this race here. The back stretch has quite a few elevation changes, so you have to be careful not to spin out and hit a building with a lot of speed. So long front stretch. come left here so we can turn wide right across the grass patch here. Onto the backstretch, which is very, very hilly. You want to be careful not to spin out, so change direction as little as possible. I jump down to the back corner with some buildings that you'll want to avoid. A difficult corner with a few curbs to avoid on this stretch here. And then the road drops down to this last corner, which you want to may brake at, so you don't spin out and go flying off. And then the final stretch up to the finish line. So that's it for circuit races. We'll move on to the last batch of checkpoints in San Francisco. These ones aren't too difficult. Golden Hour, as I mentioned before, will have a interesting section on the bridge. Wanted, this one can be difficult. There's a new cut that's been developed a few months ago, but it is very difficult. I've actually have yet to pull it off myself. And then the infamous Panos Pressure, which is always fun. So, but we'll start at the beginning with Racing 101. This one's very straightforward. Just one turn to the right. And up a hill to the finish. This one is Deck the Hall. It has a few routes that you can use, but the route I will show you is the route that most of us runners will use. The other variation is just going the other direction. I actually would like to do some experimenting to see which route is faster. If you take the other route, there is a portion you can cut, but it requires some more turning, so we're not quite sure which route is faster as of right now. You'll just take some right turns, and then up this way to the finish line. Now here is the first opportunity where we may see the Golden Gate Bridge be bad to us. And of course it's not to the very end of the bridge where you have the most speed. And like I said before, it's a section where two road pieces meet, and it can cause some very strange things to happen to the car. So you'll want to have good turning skills, as there is a bunch of traffic to avoid. Just weave in and out if you can. Sometimes if you have to, you can go on the opposite side of the road, and we may see it here. That was very mild, but I have seen it where it will launch you right into the air. It may even launch you over the entrance to that piece of road, and so you'll have to reset or restart the race. It's a very killing run. We may actually change up the route of all races in the future to have San Francisco go first. That way if we get far into a run, we won't be at risk of resetting while very deep into a run. This one is fairly straightforward. This is City Tour. You can cut over the grass patch at the beginning, but other than that, there's not much to say about it. Interesting turn there. go up this hill and then down a series of other hills. Learning traffic patterns is also something that will come with practice. The traffic patterns will always be the same depending on how fast your pace is. If you get consistent enough with tracks where you're getting to a certain point in the race at the same time every time, the traffic patterns will 95% of the time be the same. I've seen some instances where cars will randomly turn so they're not at that specific spot in the pattern, but most of the time you'll see the same pattern if you're on pace every time. This one is Foggy Memory, another not too difficult one, but it's got quite a bit of traffic you gotta watch out for. Especially the other cars. The other cars like to take the opposite direction from you in this race, so you have to be careful of that. Especially right here. A cop and 2 other AI vehicles will be there, so you have to go watch out for them, and you'll just head straight up this hill to the finish. Park and Ride is another not too difficult one, but we're starting to increase the difficulty a bit. This one has some bad curves. Get off of me. This one has some bad curves you can't hit if you're not careful. So you're not going to turn like the other AI cars do. You're actually going to continue on here, turn left there, and you can cut the corner right here to this interesting road piece, which can send you spinning. Now, the best way to get over this curb is to bounce on it a couple times and then cut over. And then you're on to the final straight, which has some traffic, and you'll want to be careful of this section as well. This is another moderately difficult track. The hills are alive. The world record was broken on this only a few days ago with an excellent run from Milwaukee. Here, you're not going to go straight on like the AI cars do. You're going to cut this way, cut across here, and take a left up the hill. Now, the cop here has been known to do some very strange things. Cop physics in this game are weird. Sometimes if they're behind you, they can gain speed at an incredible rate. As you can see, he's doing now. I have no idea why the game does this, just one of its quirks. So you have to be careful that he doesn't run into you and send you flying. Now, this one is another very broken track. You will not take the route intended at all. The route intends you to go up, then around, and then around again. But the checkpoints are so sparse on this race that we're going to do something completely different. The world record hunt for this race has been very interesting, some very different routes taken, and it's gone down quite a bit since we've developed new routes for it. So we're going to go get these checkpoints back here, this one checkpoint back here first. It's the first one we're going to get. So we're going to jump up this hill, take a right. These right corners can be very difficult with your car spinning out or hitting curves. And now we're going to take this run all the way up to Coit Tower. Now it may look like we're very far behind, but we only have a couple checkpoints left, and we don't have to go all the way back to that final checkpoint. Now, handbrake here, and you can get it, hopefully get a favorable bounce off that back wall, which can send you quick here. And then, we're already at the finish. As you can see, the other AA cars are going back to get that checkpoint that we got at the very beginning. So it's a very, very interesting route. Now, Wanted is the one with the very difficult cut, but if done well, it could save an incredible amount of time. I will show you the route that I take first, and then I will do it again and attempt to do the other route with the difficult shortcut. So you can stay on the road and just nick the end of this checkpoint here without having to go on that difficult section. We'll turn left and then turn right onto the wrong way of the highway. Now, pedestrian cars will come at you in groups of 3, as you can see here. Just try and do your best to avoid them. There's a few groups of 3 you'll experience. But once you get through, I think 4 groups, you won't find anyone until the final checkpoint. And then this difficult corner, try not to launch over the edge. Now, if you noticed, the route I took was turning left at the highway ramps and then onto the wrong way. The world record, what it does is it actually takes the ramp to the right without slowing down, hits the checkpoint that's on the other side of the highway, mind you, being on the guardrail and then jumping over the guardrail to the wrong side of the highway. So it's very difficult. I will do my best to do it, but I most likely won't get it. See, I already missed that checkpoint, but that doesn't matter. So, you'd come down this way, up this hill, ram the guardrail to get the checkpoint, and then fly your way over the guardrail back onto the other side of the highway to collect the other checkpoints. That was the closest I've ever been. It's the most speed I've ever carried. You have to hit that at a very sharp angle, so you pop up on the side of it, nick the checkpoint, and then ride it along to when it starts to curve. And then when the guardrail does start to curve, you will launch right over it onto the other side of the highway. After Hours is probably the most technical checkpoint race in San Francisco. A lot of interesting turns, including a 180. These AI cars can be really annoying. Cut this way, we'll jump this way onto the grass, get this checkpoint, and the 180 will come up here. We'll downshift, and then we'll do a 180 like that. And then we'll turn right here, a 90-degree left turn. And then a 90-degree right turn down here. Another 90 right, and then you're going to cut left here. And this curb leading onto this big grass patch can be trouble sometimes. But if you nick a car or one of those lampposts, most of the time it will pop your vehicle up enough so that you can get over the sidewalk with no issue. Full Speed Ahead has quite a bit of traffic near the middle sector, so it requires some attention. You will start by cutting across here to keep the most speed possible. Watch out for the grass as it can ruin your speed. Take a left here and oop. As you can see, the grass decided to screw me yet again. But you'll want to take a left up here. And this section can be difficult at high speeds with all these traffic. Just do your best to maneuver around them or in between them. I like to come off to the grass patch so I don't hit any vehicles. Get this checkpoint, and then you'll head over the hill to the final checkpoint here. A good way to line yourself up here is get on top of this road, and then you will launch off the edge straight down into the finish. And now we come to the ever popular Panos Pressure. A very high speed run with no traffic, but a few very difficult sections. There's a little shortcut here where you can get by going straight on. Be careful, you most likely hit the curve there. There are some optimizations to avoid it. Then it just comes down this way, and we will head straight onto the highway. This section here is very difficult, most difficult in the track. Trying to keep up your speed without hitting anything. It can be very difficult. I've had runs that have ruined it by missing the exit and just running right into a building. It's a very difficult section that requires a lot of practice. This corner here, you're going to want to be careful not to hit anything. As you can see, I'm already smoking. A 180, and then a left turn. Depending on how bad the Golden Gate Bridge is, my car may blow up. You can do a cut here by going left. Yeah, I don't know if I'll make it to the end of this. This course is most difficult checkpoint there is. But the rest of this, you just go straight on the Golden Gate Bridge to the finish line. But then there's the dreaded Golden Gate bounce, which is basically it's just random. Just gotta hold your breath. But the finish line will just be in the end of that tunnel. You can see it on my map there. But that race is very, very interesting. So now we come onto the final section, and one of the most difficult sections of the race is San Francisco Blitz. Like I mentioned before, some very difficult races, including this bad boy. But we start off fairly simple with Ignorance's Blitz. Just a straight jump over Lombard Street. So you just drive straight and drive over the hill. Nothing to it. There you go. Hold on tight. This one you're going against traffic, but most of it's at the very beginning, so it's not hard to avoid. And it's quite sparse. Once you pass this checkpoint, there's almost nobody. This corner here can be difficult at high speeds. You want to not turn too much that you'll spin out. You'll get up on the edge here and smash through the glass. I let go of the gas so I don't spin out when I hit the grass patch, and you just ease left to the final checkpoint. This is the first difficult race we'll come to in San Francisco Blitz. It's wrong way, and as as it's named, the traffic is all coming towards you. So learning the traffic patterns is key. This first section will always have an empty lane that you can take, so learning them does require some practice. Most of these intersections have an empty lane, but I believe the second last intersection has all 4 lanes full. Coming up right here, all lanes will be full, so you have to do your best to get in between some vehicles there. So we've hit our first dose of difficult Blitz races, and then we're right into another difficult race. This is Golden Race, where you start at one end of San Francisco and you gotta get to the other end. Which of course means you have to go over the Golden Gate Bridge again, which as we know can be very annoying at some times. Thank you, Mr. Red Car, you ruined my race. After this jump, there is a dead-on curve that you will always hit, so you need to hit a vehicle or do a handbrake to avoid it. Come on, get some grip. You'll come straight down into the tunnel. This corner can spin you out. Just recover best you can. And here comes the Golden Gate Bridge again. I take this route on the grass as to avoid as much traffic as possible. And now you gotta weave your way through the traffic once again. And hold our tongues. Oh, we got lucky. However, this time the checkpoint's in the back section, so you have to do a bit of braking. That's what a world record run would have a finish like that, where there's no bounce whatsoever. But, as I've said before, it's literally random. We don't know what causes it, or what doesn't cause it, in some cases. And another very technical and difficult Blitz race comes right after. This is Presidio Push. The last couple of checkpoints can be very annoying at times, especially if you get a bad trajectory. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So we'll come through here, take a 90 left, grab this checkpoint, and now in this section you'll want to come wide here as to avoid this section of water, but this section you can just go right through. Get these few checkpoints, we'll do a quick 180. And now this checkpoint here is very frustrating. If you get a bad angle off this hill, you can completely fly by this checkpoint, like I've just done. So just line your car up straight and hope for the best. Now we've come to Amazing Grace, which again is a rather difficult track with a lot of traffic. Some traffic avoidance. Jump left here. This next sequence can be difficult. You need to jump off of this hill right into this skinny little entranceway here. But with practice, it should be no problem. We'll come down the hill to the left, make a 90 right, and now the intended way is to go through the parking lot under here, but we will just cut across and grab these checkpoints as we go. And cut back across like this. Just making a giant loop around the parking lot as opposed to going through it and then through it again. And this one is very technical. You can cut straight across in these first three, like that, but then you'll want to follow the road up the rest of the way. And then go down the hill, being careful to avoid traffic. And then do the final race. This is actually one of 2 individual levels that is done, that has a world record in professional mode. All the others are set in amateur mode. But this and Zany Zigzag are done in professional mode. Zany Zigzag has 2 laps only instead of 3, so we cut a minute and a half off the final time. This one has a more favorable traffic pattern at the end, so you're less likely to ruin a great run up the hill by idiot pedestrians at the bottom of the hill. Embarcadero has some technical corners. As we've seen over the last majority of races, we really don't get a break from the difficult runs. This one's not terrible, but we're going to experience the heavy hitter next. Careful of those curbs, as always. Now you'll want to make sure you brake here so you don't go flying off into the water. And then you'll exit like this, watching out for traffic. I like to stick to the left side, especially past here, just on the concrete. And then you're gonna veer right onto this jump, and then jump left to the final checkpoint. Now we get to the very, very difficult telegraph turnaround with fog at night and loads of backwards traffic. I honestly can't say much about this race. You can see right now just how difficult it is. A lot of learning traffic patterns will have to be done. And of course you have traffic that will come across you as well, which is very fun. The first half of the race is substantially more difficult than the second half. It's got narrower roads, plus it's continuously the wrong direction. The way back has a few sections with wider roads and some traffic that goes with you like this. The world record run for this track is also incredibly unbelievable. It's done by X-Trix as well. His traffic maneuvering is insane. He jumps all over the sidewalks to avoid traffic, slips through traffic like it's nothing. I'll link that video in the description as well. Definitely check it out. It's insane. And now we come to the final race in the All Races run. It's quite nightmare. It's moderately difficult. There's some difficult turns going up and down hills, but it's nothing compared to the telegraph turnaround. You want to not go too fast off this hill because you have to go right off of down another hill like this. And take a wide angle here so you can get a quick turn up this hill. And we're going to launch slightly right to this checkpoint. Like that. Now that's one way of doing it. Let me just pause the timer. That's one way of launching up onto the platform itself. But if you miss it, you can and land down here. If you hug this wall, by pressing right, you can actually nick that checkpoint as well. And then you'll just turn right here, down the final hill, to the last checkpoint, and the run is finally over. So, the last section in San Francisco Blitz is a very big doozy. We are trying to reroute it to put it more towards the beginning, so it's not as reset heavy. We haven't seen a new All Races world record in quite a few months. It's very daunting now, and absolutely amazing time by X-Trix. A sub 117. I will also link that full race world record speedrun in the description if you'd like to check it out. Make sure to check out his channel, X-Trix, and then our 2 other main speedrunners, Niliki and the Ottoman Empire. I will link both of them as well. They've just both set some fantastic individual level records. And yeah, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed. I will end up doing a tutorial for the crash course speedrun routes as well. That will come a bit later. But anyways, I'm Zesty. Thank you so very much for watching.